listeners. Do you dream of stepping onto the TEDx stage and sharing your ideas with the world? Well, now is your chance. I'm excited to announce the TEDx Quest Challenge. It's a 5-day journey designed to help you craft your TEDx talk and land your dream speaking gig in 2025. Starting on January the 13th, each day we'll release a new podcast episode packed with actionable insights to guide you from idea to application. Plus, there's bonus tools to support you and your journey. So you get access to the TEDx speaker readiness checklist, a pitch template, and even a live Q&A with me. So if you're ready to make your dream a reality, sign up now using the link in the show notes and join the TEDx Quest Challenge. Let's get you one step closer to the TEDx stage. Welcome to the Words That Change Lives podcast, helping leaders, coaches, and small business owners to 10 times the impact of their message. Join us as we delve into the art of powerful language, enabling you to speak with unwavering honesty, communicate authentically, and create a lasting impression with every word. I'm quite excited to share this with you, what I'm sharing with you today, because, gosh, when was it? It was about 5 months ago. I met someone who I was working with. They were a client, and we were talking about business success and personal development and all of those really interesting things. And he shared something with me that he had done that had proved really fruitful and quite profound in his life and business. And that was a Zander letter. And if you're not sure what a Zander letter is, fear not, because that is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. I'm taking you on a journey into the future you will create with just a pen, a vision, and a powerful technique known as a Zander letter. So imagine you're reading a letter from your past self in 2025 or maybe 2026. Filled with goals you've achieved, relationships you've cultivated, and milestones you once only dreamed of. What if you could actually make that future a reality? Well, today we are diving deep into how you can create a Zander letter to manifest the life you want to be living a year from now and beyond. Now, if I've turned you off by saying manifest, fear not. There's science behind this, right? So whether you are someone who is more inclined to think about manifestation in terms of spiritual, in terms of law of attraction, think the thoughts become things, that type of stuff, this is for you. But also, if you are someone who is grounded in science, who believes that things happen because we make them happen rather than some higher power, then this is for you too. I'm actually I fall between the two. I'm grounded in science. I'm a science person, but I also believe there's something bigger at work in terms of energy and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into religion, but whatever works for you, whatever feels good for you, it is good to think forward and think ahead. Why are we looking at this? Well, a Zander letter is more than just a letter, and I'll talk about the specifics in a minute. It's a powerful tool for visualizing your goals, intentions, and dreams. And when we write about our future as if it's already happened, we're programming our minds to recognize opportunities. We're programming our minds to build resilience and to take subconscious, unconscious, and conscious steps towards the vision every day. So this is where you can go the woo-woo route and saying, okay, so we're releasing it up to the ether. We're setting our intentions and then letting the universe do its work. Or we're also saying we are programming ourselves subconsciously to be taking steps because our reticular activating system is kicking in and thoughts become things because we are guiding ourselves towards those because we've set the intention. So why is this really good? Well, writing your goals in the past tense boosts your confidence. It allows you to focus on positive outcomes rather than doubts. It enables you to into the positive stuff, the things that you want to achieve, the things you want to move towards rather than the things that you don't want. And it also gives clarity and direction. So by detailing your aspirations, you clarify what truly matters to you and you create a roadmap for achieving it. I love doing this exercise. I absolutely loved it. And I've already seen results. So things have already started happening. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute, but it's crazy. Okay. Where's this from? Well, it's inspired by a man called Benjamin Zander. So he's a conductor and motivational speaker. And he encouraged his students when he was, I think, a philosopher at university or something. He encouraged his students to write a letter to their future selves, predicting that they'd already got an A. So describing what they'd achieved, reflecting back on how they'd done it and how they'd got their vision in motion. And I think the results were that they did. Those students that wrote themselves a future A letter, they actually achieved the A. And so there's the science behind this in saying, well, if we set the intention, if we visualize the outcome that we want to achieve, that we want to move towards, we're going to subconsciously take steps to get there. But also, if we set that intention, then, things could be working and conspiring in our favor. So by the end of today's episode, you're going to have the guidance you need to write your own Zander letter, envisioning a future where you're not just surviving, but thriving and fully aligned with your purpose, whatever that looks like to you. It's going to serve as a reminder and a motivator, and it's going to help you stay on track with your goals in 2025 and beyond. And I honestly, having done this myself, I really, really am testament to that. I created this letter in August, September, and the way that I did it, the exact steps I did it, I'm sharing with you now. And when I say that some of these things have started to happen, they almost immediately started to happen. And I'll give some examples as we go through, but it's pretty insane, to be honest with you. But the first thing you need to do is you need to create the right environment for this type of thing. So it needs to feel calm. It needs to feel inspiring. It needs to be quiet and where you won't be disturbed. Now, I set the mood by dimming the lights. I lit some candles. I did play some really nice calming music beforehand to help me relax and sink into the zone, and to get me in a mindset to be able to connect with my future vision, and also to make it special, to make it a little bit of a ritual. It felt really nice to do that. It actually was a lovely process. And I had, my nice candle that smelled of gingerbread, and I had the lovely music, and I felt really warm, and just had a bath, and, all of those types of things. Then you need to gather your materials. So you need to have a notebook or stationery ready if you want to write by hand, which I do recommend doing rather than having a blank document on your phone. But choose whichever feels most natural and enjoyable. I got a fresh notebook with a fresh pen, and I did it that way. So once you've got your environment, then you start by taking a few deep breaths to clear your mind, real deep breaths, inhaling deeply, holding and exhaling. And this simple act of grounding will help bring you fully into the present moment. And it creates a mental space where you can really visualize your future without distraction. That's really, really key. And you need to set an intention for what you're going to do. So you might say, I am open to receiving insights about my future, and I trust that everything I envision is already on its way to me. So again, whether you're scientific or not, and more spiritual or both, setting that intention is just a really good framing for everything that comes after. Now we go into the visualization, and you take a moment to close your eyes and just start visualizing, and picture yourself at the end of the 12-month period from wherever you are starting this. And you can set a longer date if you want, but 12 months is usually really good. And you start to sink into, where are you? What have you achieved? Who is there with you? And you imagine that everything you dreamed of at this moment has already come true. So you let yourself feel the feelings, the excitement, the pride, the gratitude that comes with these accomplishments. And as you visualize how you're feeling, what you've achieved, and who is there with you at the end of this time, you imagine the sights, the sounds, and even the smells around you. So by creating a vivid mental image, you're going to strengthen the connection to your future vision by making it feel real and achievable. So you do need to set a future date. So as I say, this could be a year from now, it could be 5 years from now, but you do need to pick a timeline that feels meaning for you and lock into that period in the future. So for this particular one, you could imagine it's at the end of the year. So if we're listening to this at the beginning of 2025, it's the end of 2025. But whenever you're listening to this episode, think about the time frame that you want to set and be putting yourself into the future. So I chose 12 months for mine. And then once you've planted yourself in that future date and you're sinking into where you are, what you're doing, how you're feeling, what are you seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, you start to visualize as if you've already achieved your goals. So this isn't a list of wishes. You're already celebrating. So you're talking as if you have already achieved these things. So you're writing in the past tense. And as these things come up, you make a note of them. But what I've done is I've put them in some categories for you to think about. And before I went into my visualization, I wrote down those key themes in the notebook. So I could, as things came up, I could make a note of them. So then you consider the areas of your life that matters most. I've included some here, but you could include whatever you want to include as your categories. So the first I put down was professional growth. And I visualized where I would be in 12 months in terms of my business and career achievements. What is happening? What am I celebrating? And I had some very specific things in there around growth in my business to do with new initiatives, diversification of industry, and collaboration with other people. And I will say that a lot of those things have happened already. I also spoke about developing a new expert method. So I talk a lot about expert methods. If you don't know what that is, please go back to the expert method episode in this podcast. And I talked about a new one that I was creating that culminates all of my leadership and communication and behavior experience of the last 20 years. I've already done that and it's good to go, like in just a few months. I knew that I'd set the intention, and setting the intention almost gave me kind of a zing of energy and acceleration towards it to create it. And it just came. So there's lots of other things that have happened in terms of new industries, working in new industries, collaboration. Oh my God, honestly, so much has happened already. And then the second category is personal development. So you reflect back on the skills you've gained. So what have you learned? Where have you grown? And I spoke about the different courses I'd completed and how that had helped me achieve things. And again, already things have started happening in terms of that. Then I looked at relationships and family. So one big area in this for me was of receiving love and meeting someone. So I visualized that. I'm not going to go into all the details, but I really visualized that and set myself in the future and feeling those feelings of love and connection and warmth and friendliness and care and all of those sorts of things with a particular person that's going to come into my life. I visualized all the relationships with my friends and my family, what they were doing, how that was happening, how they had grown and developed. I also visualized my health and well-being. And for me in particular, it's my sobriety journey. So I visualized forward and the things I'd be celebrating in the future as a result of my sobriety journey. I talked about my podcast and was celebrating some very specific things in the podcast and health and fitness and things like that. Other experiences, other things that I was celebrating to achieve, and just general lifestyle and happiness. What does it look like? What am I doing? How am I balancing? And how am I working in a really great flow state that meets the needs of my children and myself whilst expanding my own development and growth? So I really sunk into that. And as those things came up in each of those categories, I made a note in my notebook. And I've got my notebook here. Just to let you know, it's an amazing notebook that one of my colleagues gave me a few years ago. And it's a quote by Jane Austen on the front. And it says, "If adventures will not befall a young lady in her own village, she must seek them abroad." And I love that. And I'm just going to dip into this and just give a few examples, because I like reflecting back on this, even though I haven't reflected back on it too much, because they recommend that you don't do that. So let's, for example, with thought leadership. So thought leadership is a subcategory of professional growth. I asked myself the questions: what ideas have you shared, or organizations have you influenced? What fresh, unique approach have you created? What new opportunities have come your way? And then in my visualization, the things that came up, and I wrote them down. It said, something emerges to do with my style of leadership and communication, something similar to a coaching style, but more of a guided conversation and approach. It's inspired by, and then I've talked about some different models and methods I use, but using my unique approach of empathy, listening, and persuasion, as well as moving people forward. I write a book, and I appear on a high profile podcast, and then I've put on like a number of sorts of things like that. And so I'm celebrating what I've done there. And I can tell you, this is already manifested. So that's just one example. I won't go into all of them. The love one was really, was a really good one for me to tap into. And, I do talk about the fact that something unlocks a new path on this journey that leads me to a special person. And because I've done all the work in my personal development around feeling safe and secure, and working on my personal growth and my sobriety, I bring that person in through the new connections I'm making. And I go into all the details about how wonderful he is. So there we go. And as you write, tap into the emotions of success and gratitude. The emotion of gratitude is one of the highest vibrational emotions that you can have. And tapping into joy, pride, fulfillment, gratefulness, in terms of feeling so thankful that these things have come into your life, will already enhance your belief in the reality of these achievements, and you'll feel more inspired to pursue them. So once you've done that, you've got your notebook, you've visualized those things, you've written down everything that comes up, and you've acknowledged maybe challenges you've overcome, being honest about the journey, because it's not all maybe rainbows and unicorns. You can write down the things that you've overcome, that have strengthened you, that have given you resilience, that have reminded you of the capacity to handle obstacles. And you thought about the sensory details, so remember the sights, the feelings, the sounds, the tastes, the smells. Then you end your visualization with a reminder for yourself for the future. And I ended mine by saying, thank you for all the amazing things that have come into my life. I trust the process. I'm exactly where I need to be. So that's how I ended that visualization. Then I had my notes. And what I did with that was I then put it into an email. Now, there are a number of different things that you can do with this. You can either do an email to yourself, or you can go on, and they've got these things online. I can't remember the exact name of them, that enable you to send future self letters, I think they're called. So they enable you to write a letter to your future self online for people to see. And then you can see whether those things have come true in a year's time, or whatever time frame you want to give. So I did the email, because what you can do then is you can set that to be delivered to you at a certain time. So you can schedule it to be delivered at a point in the future. So I have scheduled that in my email system to be delivered to me a year from when I wrote it, which I believe was around September time. And so I'll get that email. And I'm writing the email as in, you did this, you achieved this, you were so grateful for this, you are so proud that you did this, that this happened. So it's all past tense. And then that's it. Then you can forget about it if you want. You can forget about the letter, you can forget about what you've done or that you've sent if you want. I have in the main forgotten about the email that I sent, but I'm kind of subconsciously feeling the energy of it. And I do refer back to the book from time to time. I've only referred back to it twice just to see what I wrote and what's happening, and just to kind of confirm that actually, yeah, there's already things happening. So what do you think? I think this is a great exercise to do at the beginning of any year. It's a really great exercise to do. I really recommend taking some time to do it and really sinking into this. And it's quite a nice self-care ritual to do as well. So if you do this, I'd love for you to get in touch and let me know. Contact me at hello@helenpackham.com and share what you put in your Zander letter. Or if you don't want to share what you put in, just tell me about the experience you had. I'd love to hear how it went for you. Let's smash those goals in 2025.
Thanks for listening to Words That Change Lives. Please rate, review and follow on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really means the world and helps me to reach more people so that we can all harness the power of our words and change lives for the better.